Hey guys, welcome back to the 14th episode of the Friday Ticker. It's been a crazy market the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I figured let's just go through a market review and I'll take you through my latest trades. So let's get into it. Now, before I get started, I'm not a financial professional. I can't tell you what to do, when to do it, or how to do it with your money. These are just my opinions about the market and some of the most recent trades I've made. So let's first start by looking at the SPY. That's really the most important instrument you should always look at when you're interested in taking a trade. Okay, if you don't know this, most of the market moves that are being made by the indexes. Okay, people are buying and selling the QQQ and the SPYs, and they typically move together, and most individual stocks are going to move along with the SPY. So it's always good to have a reference from a macro trade perspective. So we see here we retested the all-time highs like maybe a week ago, and we had some bearish takes from a couple of big financial firms and individuals. So we'll get into that. But we definitely retested up here. We sold off quite heavy down to the 650 area, almost tapped 650, just shy of it. And then it looks like we took a little bit of a bounce back today. Now, today's an important day. It's Wednesday, November 19th, and we had a big event. Today was Nvidia's earnings days, and that's why I think you saw this little pop here. People get excited for earnings. A lot of things are happening on an earnings day. You've got options that are, flying all around because of the implied volatility due to this Nvidia earnings today. I mean, this is the biggest market cap of the entire market. So whatever happens to it, it's typically going to move the market either to the upside or the downside. So that's what happens. So you saw that happen. And then, of course, Nvidia had their saving grace moment in the markets. And if we look at a shorter time span, the 15 minutes, which is what I like to look at, even in the SPY, you see here, we closed right here. Oops. We closed right here at like 662. Nvidia had its earnings. They blew out earnings. And there's more growth in the AI space. And of course, this popped up and up and up, and it's continued to trade up until 8 p.m. is when after hours closes. So that's what happened there. And the reason, if I go back to the daily, the reason why we had this big sell-off in the first place was we had a couple events. I think right around here, we had an announcement of SoftBank selling, I think, $5 billion worth of Nvidia stock. Maybe it was their whole position. I can't remember. So that was definitely a bearish move with this AI momentum. The entire market is based on AI, guys. If you're not aware, your portfolio, your 401k is all based on this AI trade for the most part. Most of the other stocks, like in the regular business world, they're getting destroyed. I mean, if you look at Target stock, Chipotle, the restaurants, everything's getting destroyed. The only thing that's holding things up is AI and Nvidia. Thankfully, Nvidia, you guys built this tech a long time ago. But anyway, SoftBank sold off, and then we had an announcement of Michael Burry, the big short, the guy who shorted the market in 2008, the big predictor, He decided to, I think he sold out of Nvidia, and I think he bought puts on Nvidia. So he's super bearish, at least in the short term he is. And then Peter Thiel sold out of his entire Nvidia position and I think 80% of Tesla. I don't think it was a big position for him, but it's still selling these AI names. So the market got soft. It went down and down, had a little pop here, but still kept going down. And yeah, that's where we're at today. I think now with this announcement from Nvidia, we're going to retest all-time highs in the SPY. So let's take a look at Nvidia right here. So obviously, after that announcement, you got all this selling, a little bit of a pop there and more selling. And then, of course, after hours, this thing is just ripping. Now, if you pay attention to things, everything else does the same thing if it's based on AI. Look at Oracle. It's like they had earnings. Look at AMD. It closed down here like 223, got all the way back up to where it was trading at the highs of the day, and it's probably going to be above this tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised. And there's various other AI stocks. Tesla's another one. Palantir, where's that one at? Here we go. Same thing there. That thing ripped back up to the 175 area. So, this is how the market moves. It typically moves together. There's always sympathy plays when it comes to a certain segment. Especially for Nvidia, you would see AMD make the move that it did. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about my trades today. It was a kind of a volatile day for me. I started my day with Target. I'm in this trade. I've been in this Target trade for a while. I'm not super bullish on the company or the stock, but it's kind of a sideways trader. And I got in the trade by selling some put options. I sold some call options. I covered those call options, made $1,000, and then I got a dividend a couple days ago, or last week I think it was, the dividend X date. That'll be payable soon. So I made another like $1,100 on that. And then I sold covered calls expiring this Friday for $3,100. And the reason why they were so juicy as far as the premium is because earnings was this morning for Target. Anytime you have earnings and you sell an option like a day or two or even the week after earnings, you're going to collect more premium up front because there's more risk to that trade. Risk to the upside of losing your shares if you're selling calls, or risk to the downside by remaining to hold the stock if the stock's weak. So for Target, they had earnings this morning and it ripped all the way up to like $92, but then it just sold off. They had basically had lower sales in general, and it was just kind of a muted earnings. It wasn't really spectacular, and it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't horrible, let's put it that way. That's why you only saw kind of a down 3% move in Target, but it opened up and it ripped all the way back up here. I was like, man, maybe it might retest this 92 area, but it didn't. And my contracts yesterday, I considered closing them. They were up like 30%. I was up like maybe $800. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to hold through earnings. We'll see what happens. I want to collect this premium. That was my goal. And then, of course, she dumped all the way down here. And then the implied volatility, now that earnings were out, dropped to the floor. And these contracts just went down to 20 to 30 cents a contract. And I sold these contracts for $3 and something a contract. And, I was thinking about selling them or closing the position down here, but then it ripped up so quick, so I couldn't really do anything. But they were still down considerably. I was still up $2,900 on the contracts, even up here. And so I thought about closing them, but then it sold off down here. And I was like, I'm just going to close them and get out of this trade. It was down to 7 cents a contract. So I had made 99.5% for this trade. I collected, I think, $3,020, something like that. I only missed out on $70 for 2 days. There's 2 days left on the contract. I didn't feel like risking it because this could have ripped back up to 95. It depends on news from the market. If the market had some big news, like maybe Donald Trump lowered tariffs for China, Target would rip back up to 100. I'm pretty sure it would. So you got to be aware of that. And so like the $70 to hold this trade was not worth holding it. So I just closed out the position, made my money. And now I'm going to wait on Target to make another move, hopefully to the upside. I'd like to get, maybe a rally. I mean, this earnings wasn't that good. Will it rally? It might. I could see it rallying up to like maybe the 92 area and then maybe selling off again. If it comes back up to 92 pretty quick, especially with these Nvidia earnings, I'm going to be patient, and then I'm going to sell more covered calls at the 95 area, the same area where I was at before. Because you see here, even here, she got up to about $100 a share and then just sold off really quick. So this 95 is like a good wheeling area for me, I feel. Even up here, we got rejected here and sold off. So, this is a good covered call area. If I can get a little bit more momentum, I can get higher premium. So that's my plan on Target. So I'm holding it. Right now, I'm down about $1,000 total for the trade, which after selling puts and covered calls, I'm keeping up with kind of this bearish action that Target's having. We'll see how far I can actually get my shares lowered to my cost basis. But that's Target for you. And then I'm involved in this Resolve trade. Now this thing's a falling knife. I don't recommend getting involved in this thing. It was a buddy of mine who told me about it. And I sold puts at $4 a share, $4 strikes, 2,500 shares. So right now I'm down about $2,500 as far as share value. I collected up $1,000 up front, so 10% of my position, which is pretty good. And then at $3, I sold another 1,000 shares for like $200 premium. I was just like, I don't think this is going to close below 3, which I think I'm right now because after that Nvidia earnings, again, this is a sympathy play. If we look at after hours, this thing was ripping like, I don't know. After hours, I think it was like 4 or 5% up. It tapped up here at the 330 range. So to be honest, this thing probably will rip all the way back up to this $4 area. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 days my puts expire worthless. It might trade and close above $4 a share. This thing's super volatile. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of fun. And I did some research on this stock with ChatGPT, pretty in depth. And it did say they're probably going to dilute again. So it's hard to say if this is a good long-term investment. It's kind of a speculative play for me. So that's Resolve. I think I'm going to make money on it regardless. And then Oracle, again, another sympathy play. I think I told you guys about this trade in my last video. I sold puts at strike price of $245 right up here. And then it's been trading down, like down to the $215 area. So I was down, every $10 is $3,000. So I was down $9,000 total for this trade. But now it's back up to the 232. I bet you tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised to see this around 235. And this Friday, it expires. I wouldn't be surprised with this momentum of Nvidia. It gets back up to 245 and even closes above it. So I may not even get issued these 300 shares I have for Oracle. Now, if it does trade above 245 and just closes right there, first thing Monday, I'm just going to sell the same 3 puts at 245 strikes. I'm very comfortable with it. I think that with this type of price action that I'm seeing, I mean, this falling knife, I just don't see it going much lower. This was a big support area. As you can see, we had some green candles even the last 3 trading days. This thing's going to probably bounce around maybe between that 260, maybe back down to 220, 260, 220. Unless it rips way up back to 300, we'll see. But I'm pretty happy with this trade. I'm going to collect $2,000. And if it closes above 245, I'm going to take the trade again. So that's Oracle. Again, it's part of the AI trade. Everything's based on this AI trade from Nvidia and OpenAI primarily. So, and then after that, I repeated a second trade of mine on AMD. You guys know I like my AMD. I've done multiple videos on it. I'm very confident. I've got high conviction in this name. Now, I had made $3,000 on selling puts at 200 strike price a couple of weeks ago. And I did it on this announcement. I think it was an announcement of OpenAI. I did it right here. I sold the 200 strikes at like 208 when the stock was trading there. And then today, after being up here in the 260s, this thing sold off from this whole Michael Burry, buying puts thing. And today it was just dumping and dump. It went, look at this daily chart. This is crazy. Look at the 15 minutes. So this thing right away just rips. Oh, geez. It just rips all the way to 235 and then just dumps. And I was like, I'm interested. I'm interested in getting back in this name as far as selling options. So at 221 a share, I sold the exact same strike. I sold the 200 strikes And I went all the way out to December 26th. It's kind of like my Christmas present. And I sold $3,600 in premium. And I knew that this Nvidia earnings was probably going to work out in my favor. I had a feeling the Nvidia was going to crush it, and they did. And of course, the market flipped the entire opposite direction of the trade that it was trending in. So is Nvidia or is AMD going to close under 200 around Christmas time? With this news, I just don't think so. It could, no doubt, it totally can. I think tomorrow my contracts are going to be probably up, who knows, maybe 20%, 25%. We'll see. But I feel like it's a pretty good trade. Really happy with it. Just kind of like the last time I traded this thing at the 200 levels. So I'm pretty happy with that one. And then my last trade, this was kind of like a one-off trade. I've traded it before in PayPal. Now, PayPal's been in the dumps for a long time. And I've made some money on it this last year, here and there. But I mean, this is the ugliest stock chart you've ever seen. This thing goes sideways for miles and miles. But as you can see, it got down here to $50 a share, but it's been bouncing at this 55, 60 level. And, yesterday it was, I just said, man, this is too good to be true. This thing was just trading up here at $80, and in like 2 weeks, it's down to 60. I'm like, this is easy money. So right here at the bottom of this candle at not this candle, it was yesterday. Sorry, it was yesterday. It was $60.20. I sold the $60 strikes, 5 contracts. It's worth about $30,000. And, today it was still pretty weak, but right at the end of the day, a lot of volume came in, and you see all this volume here, right there. Volume came in, some buyers came in. They were probably thinking the same thing I was. Nvidia is going to crush it. And of course they did. And the stock is, pumping a little bit up to like $60.70. These are only 3 weeks out. I just didn't feel like going to the end of Christmas on these. I'm not really super bullish or interested in PayPal, but I saw the stock chart and I was like, this is probably easy money. So we'll see though. I could get stuck with these shares. My price is around $58 a share, my break even. So, if it goes down to 55, I'm down a couple $100, maybe $1,000. Not a big deal. So those are my, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5 trades, I believe. And 3 of them expire this Friday. Well, the target trade I closed, but 2 of them expire this Friday in 2 days. We'll see what happens there. I think the market is going to shift now with these Nvidia earnings. I don't think there's anything new. I think all the major earnings are out. There wasn't really anything outrageous that was scary from a market perspective. It'll be interesting to see what happens with these tariffs in the Supreme Court. That could affect the market. I think the Federal Reserve with their December rate cut, who knows? It's kind of a 50-50 toss-up. I'm hearing inklings that probably won't cut. There's a lot of people in the Fed that are not interested in cutting, but we'll see. They don't have a lot of data from the government shutdown, so unfortunately, they're kind of flying blind. Obviously, Trump is pressuring them to lower rates. He did that back in 2018 when I was trading. He's always trying to lower rates. That's just his thing. Pump the stock market, pump the stock market. You guys know how it goes. So anyways, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty happy with these trades. I'm happy with the turnaround with the market. We'll see what happens. It could be a fake out. That happens too. So be aware of that. Be careful out there and, be safe investing. Long and strong is the way to go in general. I will always agree to that. But for me, I've been in the markets for a few years. I kind of can see these charts and where they are, and I'm taking a lot of conservative trades with these things. And I've just got some side money that I can work with. So anyways, that's my take on the market these days. Let me know what your take is on the markets. Do you think we're going higher? Do you think we're going to break all-time highs? Maybe. We'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys could, like and subscribe to the channel. Take a look at my previous video. And everyone have a great day. Thanks.